In your notes, you'll see 5 biblical principles for communicating. And the first one starts with us being careful. Careful to not simply babble. You can fill in those blanks. Careful when you're posting online to not simply babble. We don't need to say or type everything that enters our mind, just in case you didn't know that. You don't have to say everything you think. Some people almost brag about their filter being broken, and they readily admit to saying inappropriate things at inappropriate times. And yet, listen, if you're self-aware enough to know that that's your tendency, be self-disciplined enough to stop. Your lack of filter might be more of an excuse than a reason. Look at Proverbs 20, verse 19. It says, "A gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much." Oh, I will have no friends left after this message. Man, but there's good advice. Avoid people who talk too much. The more that I read on Facebook, the more convinced I am that babbling and foolish talk, gossip even, is even easier to do online than it is in person. Nobody's sending you any social cues on Facebook when you're all alone in your room typing away there, right? When you're just sending it out for the world to see. Nobody's looking horrified. And sometimes we like the horrified looks and clicks and responses that we get. When we're not looking in someone's eye, it gets much easier to go on and on about nothing. The second principle is to be careful to be extra respectful. Extra respectful. Responding quickly to a post we don't like or we don't agree with, or even about something that we're passionate about in either direction, can cause most of us to quickly cross a line. It's easy to forget who our whole audience is. 2 Timothy 2:23 through 25 would teach us the importance of being careful to be respectful. Here's what it says in verse 23. "Don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments." Oh, poor Mark Zuckerberg's going to go out of business. What else is on Facebook? Really, right? Don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments, because you know that they produce quarrels. I know Christians who think their mission is to cause controversy, that their mission is to get people talking about controversial things. I would question whether they tore that verse out of their Bible or not. Verse 24 says, "And the Lord's servant, anyone who claims to follow Jesus, must not be quarrelsome, but must be kind to everyone, able to teach, not resentful." Oh, baby. That's tough stuff. I mean, just if you're a believer. Hey, if you're not a believer, go at it, right? Like, just have your good times. But if you're going to claim to be a Christian, and if you're going to claim to be a believer, if you're going to put Bible verses all over your Facebook page, would you, for the love of all that is good and right, read these 3 verses often? Right? Verse 25, "Opponents must gently be instructed, not in what they should and should not do, but in the hope that God will grant them repentance, leading them to a knowledge of the truth." The third biblical principle: before you post, careful to make peace, not war. Make peace, not war. The trouble with much of the media that we all consume these days, whether it be news or entertainment or scrolling through social media posts, is that the poster or the publisher or the speaker is actually rewarded for controversy, extremism, and negativity. Nothing gets more clicks. Nothing sells like bad news, and nothing seems to get more likes or screen time, face time, than sensational negativity. And when we continue to pile into these things, we contribute to their success, and we hurt ourselves while building a bigger audience for the negativity, the controversy, and the extremism. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29 says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths," or your fingers, I'll add, but only what is helpful for building others up. Not according to my needs, according to their needs, it says, that it may benefit those who listen. Helpful, building, beneficial words. How are we doing with that one? Number 4, careful to think before you type. Oh man, I'm incredibly bad at this one. This is a tough one. I'm so impulsive, right? Makes me a little more interesting to listen to at times, but it's not always good. Speaking of impulsive, there's Pastor Nate just walking up at this point, right? Like, we have a similar gift in just off-the-cuff kind of remarks, and that gets us in incredible trouble at times. My wife, Debbie Lee, she actually thinks before she speaks. Like, I will say to her things like, "What do you want for supper?" And she'll be silent for like 30 seconds sometimes. And she'll think, like, "Do you like your salad?" And she'll just look at me for a minute. And I think, what's going on in there? But you know what she's doing? She's thinking before she speaks. Oh, I'm going to work on that. I'm really going to work on that. But hey, just before you type, just before you text, just before you post, can I invite you into that experience with me? Let's think before we type. Number 5, as we conclude, careful to bring something good to the table. But bring something good to the conversation. Bring something good to the wall. Bring something good to Facebook or Instagram. Luke 6:45 says that a good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of, and the fingers type what the heart is full of. Look at Philippians 4:8 with me. Finally, at long last, brothers and sisters, believers, this isn't a message for unbelievers, but if you claim to be a believer, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And if you're thinking about it, you'll be careful to let it come out of your fingers, out of your mouth, and in your handwriting. That's not a list for multiple choice. That my post is one of those things. It's Philippians 4:8. Make note of that on your notes. Philippians 4:8, and judge your posting accordingly. Because the tongue, It has the power of life, goodness. And it has the power of death, hurt, and heartache. Those who talk, who post, who print, who write, they will reap the consequences.